In this assignment, you are going to be making some specific edits to your photographs. And the first thing you're going to be doing is you're going to learn how to edit a black and white photograph or turn a color photograph into black and white and really get your subject matter to pop. So you do that by color identification. So as you're going through your images to begin with, you want to look at things and find things that have contrast of colors. Things that would work great are is if you have like opposite colors. I've got bright pink and then I've got green. I've got red berries and green. Even something like this where I've got this green background. I've got a distinct yellow line. And then even in here, if I'm looking, there are some colors that are in here that I'm going to identify. And I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. So I'll just use this one for an example right now. And I'm going to choose my photograph by highlighting it, and then I'm going to come up here to this little circle. It looks like a camera aperture that's open in Camera Raw. So click Open in Camera Raw, and it will open up your photograph. So I've gone over some of these little panels here. So we've got light, this is found on most editing programs. Exposure, contrast, highlights, and that will raise and lower different parts of the entire photograph. But you're going to be hitting up specific colors. So the first thing I want you to do is make an inventory. You can write it down if you want to, of all the colors that you see in here. And right away, you might be like, well, it's green and yellow, and then there's black. Well, not really. You've got some greens, but even in the greens, there's some yellows in here. Even in this yellow area, I know that there's like orangey looking leaves in there. And then in the background where you might think, well, it's asphalt, so it's all black. There's a lot of blue in here, and this is how I know. And if you're not sure what colors you're seeing, come down to here to where it says Color Mixer. Click that down arrow and start sliding these. Okay, so if you're not sure of what colors are in there, take a look at this photograph. If you're watching the asphalt, you'll see that the blue is getting more turquoise or more purple. Okay, I'm going to take a look at those yellows and notice that if I slide it more green, all of those leaves that are in there start turning more green or more orange. Okay. If I slid the orange slider, now I can see just how much orange is in there by making that decision. So I can see right away the different colors that are in here. Here's my greens. If you watch those green grasses that are there on the left-hand side of the picture, you'll see that they get very, very yellow as I slide to one side and oversaturated green on the other. Okay, so now you have a little bit of a better idea. Now, one other thing that I want you to remember about this program, Camera Raw and Bridge, is that this is a non-destructive editing program. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So if I were to change this to black and white and then I hit done, it's going to look like a black and white photograph out here, but it's not going to actually be a photograph or a black and white photograph permanently. I would have to save a copy of that. The reason why they do this is it allows you to come back in there to the photograph and then choose to restore it to default. So if I click on these three little dots here, I can reset to default and it will automatically go back to the way that it was to begin with. Okay. So what I would like you to do is choose an image, and I'm going to choose these pink flowers here and watch what I'm going to do. Now this one is very easy because I've got pinks and magentas and I've got greens and there's a little bit of yellow that's in the background there. The first thing I want to do before I do anything else is I want to click black and white. You'll see up here at the top where it says Edit, Auto, Black and White, HDR. I'm going to click on black and white and watch the color mixer when I do that. So what happens is the color mixer turns to a black and white mixer. Now my photograph, because even though they were very opposite colors, they were very similar in like tone, meaning they were all kind of like the same darkness. So it was like magenta flowers, but they were like a dark magenta. It was green in the background, but it was like a dark green. So everything defaults to this kind of medium gray. And this is not a good black and white photo. So I really want to get these flowers to really stand out against the background. That's where your color comes in. So I know that the flowers were very magenta, so I'm going to start to push those a little bit lighter. And you'll notice if you're watching up here at the histogram, it's going to start shifting all the way to the right because I'm pushing those colors all the way over. And I can go pretty far without, like, some of this, when you start to see these bands in the background, like right in here, you want to watch out for those things. So maybe I want to slide back a little bit on that. Purples, I'm going to just start pushing around. I'm going to push my purples. In the leaves in the background, there's some aqua in there. I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to pull my greens down. So what I really want is for the background to kind of recess. Don't overdo it. When you get too dark, you'll see that the histogram starts to shoot all the way over to the left-hand side, and then you've got really dark darks in there. So I don't want quite that much darkness. The center of those flowers has a little bit of yellow on it. Let's see. I guess I want that a little bit lighter. Red, so I'm going to push that a little bit later. Okay, when I'm happy, there's not really any blues in this picture. When I'm happy with what I ended up with here, I made those flowers pop way more than they had been to begin with. Then I'm going to do some additional edits on here. Then I'm going to come back and play around in the light. Let's see if I can do more to this. Now I can come in here and pull my shadows and the black down a little bit. I might be able to push the white a little bit, but watch that histogram. If you start getting really a lot of these red spots, pull it back a tiny bit. It's okay to have a little of them. The contrast really does a lot. That's very helpful. Now again, I've got some really dark darks in here. I'm not too terribly concerned about that. Maybe I can push that up a little bit. All right. And then the last thing I like to do to mine is come down to the effects, because I like to, especially something like this, I want to push a little bit of texture and clarity, and that really makes this center flower pop there. Now, when I'm happy with my edit, I am going to save it, because if I just hit done while it looks like it's a black and white photograph, I'm not going to be able to turn that in, because technically it's only showing me what my edits would be if I chose to save it. So when I've finished with an image, I'm going to come up here to this down arrow and click on it. And I'm going to get this window that pops up. The first time you come into the window, this will be set as a digital negative. You do not want that file extension. So the only things you're going to change in here are this. You're going to set it to JPEG.jpg, and then you're going to give it a name, and you're going to name this one black and white. Or you're going to name it for whatever edit you're doing. And I'm going to hit save. Now I can hit done. So here's my original, and you will find one in here named black and white. There it is. So this is the finished one. So if I went out to my my folder, I would see that there is a colored photo out here. In fact, I'll do it for you. So when I go look at the photographs, here it is. There's that pink flower, and then you will see that there's the black and white JPEG. This is the one that's going to eventually get turned in. All right, so you can practice your edits out in the assignment.